Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I know that in my last video I said I was going to make a Viego video in my next video, but I've had a bit of a change of heart. I've been playing Viego and I'm not really a big fan of the champion. I think I just need to play a bit more, get used to it a bit more, and then I'll be on track and good to make a video. But today I want to talk about HECARIM, my main, my favorite champion. Him or Rek'Sai, one of those two, my two favorite champions. So how exactly do you build HECARIM? So there are two main philosophies when it comes to building HECARIM. Also, tell me if you prefer this style of video or the gameplay background style of video. Tell me which one you prefer. I can do either one, but I think this one's more. I feel like you get more information out of this sort of video. But there are two main types of builds on HECARIM. You have Assassin HECARIM and Bruiser HECARIM. And both of these have been pretty much equally prevalent throughout HECARIM's history, throughout its time being a champion. But in my opinion, right now, one is evidently better than the other, and that being Bruiser over Assassin. I don't think Assassin is bad. I don't think that Assassin, particularly with Phase Rush, is very bad. But I feel like it's worse than the Conqueror, all in, just go in, kill all the enemy opponents, and then, end the game. I feel like it's worse than that version of HECARIM. But let me explain why quickly. So the main reason is move speed. So as I'm sure most of you know, HECARIM's passive gives him increased damage dependent on how much move speed he currently has at the time he's engaging, he's doing whatever he's doing. So there's an interesting thing happened recently in the last patch. There was a lot of unique passives, unique to each other, completely different from each other, given to loads of different items, loads of different Bruiser items, which HECARIM can go and likes to go anyway. So three of the items here being Triforce, Black Cleaver, and Stridebreaker. These are items with unique passives, which when built together give HECARIM 60 move speed, which I believe is slightly more than boots. I'm gonna have to check that, but I believe 60 is more than what tier 2 boots give. I'm not too sure on that, but it's in a similar ballpark. This is only when you're attacking people though, only when you're dealing damage. So here's my first build idea. I'm gonna have a later one later on, but we'll get onto that when we get onto that. So what you want to do is you want to first back, if you can, go Ionian boots and tier. If you can't, then just go Ionian boots. After that, you want to start building a Stridebreaker, finish off the Stridebreaker, then build yourself a Spear with Shojin, a Manamune. You want to get yourself a Triforce, and then Opportunity. So the reason for all of these items, I feel like it's fairly self-evident. Triforce is extremely good because you get the Sheen passive. Opportunity is extremely good because after you get a kill, you get high amounts of move speed, which you can use in order to get another kill, because obviously you are increasing the amount of AD you're getting because you're increasing your movement speed. Spear with Shojin is fairly obvious. Everybody builds Spear with Shojin first on HECARIM, it seems, and there's good reason for it. It massively increases the damage on your Q. It has a stacking passive which synergizes well with your stacking passive on Q. But Stridebreaker is rarely ever built on HECARIM. So, and I think this is a very big mistake, because I think Stridebreaker is OP on HECARIM. So the reason for this is again fairly obvious, but I feel that people, it's not they don't read the item, it's that they just see the item doesn't give ability haste and then kind of throw it away, which I think is a bit reductive. But I'll go into why I think the item is so OP. I'll just read out the passive here. So you deal 80% AD physical damage to opponents near you, and you slow them for 35% for 3 seconds. That's not really the interesting part, although that is very useful on a champion that knocks people away a lot of the time from their team, unless you're able to get a flank. So having a slow allows your teammates to catch up and then help kill the enemy. But the interesting part, and what's really, really good for HECARIM, is you gain 35% movement speed decaying over 3 seconds. Depending on how many people you hit, per champion hit you gain 35%, which is one of the best passives in the game, just period. It's just one of the best. But the fact that this in combination with you playing HECARIM is amazing, because it gives you so much AD. If you are able to hit 3 champions, I believe I was able to get about 350 move speed when I hit 5 champions, and that's just amazing. Obviously, it's for a very short amount of time, but you effectively get the benefits of the assassin HECARIM without building any assassin items. In terms of raw AD that you get from hitting even 2 champions, this is one of the best items in the game, and that's just the AD from the move speed. It doesn't even take into account the move speed in and of itself, right? The fact that this item is able to be used when you're moving, the fact that it has the cleave passive, which means every basic attack does AoE damage, means your clear is quite a bit quicker, especially on multi monster camps. It means that obviously you can use the active as well, which makes your clear even quicker. This just has so many benefits when it comes to HECARIM. Is just I don't see why it's not built as often as it is. I understand why. The reason why is because it doesn't give any ability haste, and I can understand that, but I feel like the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages, especially when you are building so much ability haste on HECARIM. In this build, I believe I got up to around 90 ability haste, which is more than enough. So I feel like you don't really need to be min-maxing your ability haste that much. I can understand why you'd want to do it in the early game, but I feel like Stridebreaker is the go-to first item in almost every situation if you want to build Bruiser HECARIM. But what happens if you don't want to build Bruiser HECARIM? So why is tank HECARIM good? And if it is good, then why is it good? In my opinion, tank HECARIM is very good because he has a lot of very good synergies with items and runes. So one of his main really good synergies is assist items. So if you don't know, assist items are just items which have effects that are procced off assists. So if you assist in eliminating one of the enemies, then you are going to get some sort of reward. In this case, it's movement speed and AD, which will go away after about 90 seconds, right? So why this is so good for HECARIM is because HECARIM is able to hit a lot of people when he's going in. If he's going in with his R, he can hit maybe 5 people. If he's just running around with his W on, he's pretty much hitting everybody because of how big an area of effect his W is. So these items are just amazing generally on HECARIM. In terms of you being able to get assists because you're able to hit so many people, right? It's not like a Kha'Zix or something where your main single target, one person getting hit. Which is why, quickly again, I think that items like Hubris are really, really bad on assassins. The main reason being because the item backloads your damage when inherently you want your damage to be front loaded on the champion like an assassin. So as a tank you prefer backloaded damage because you can get in there, you can stack up all the damage because you're not going to be dying, so you have time to stack up everything. However, as an assassin you want your damage to be front loaded. You want to get in there, take out the enemy and then get out. You don't want to be waiting for some stacking passive to get up and for you to take a long time to kill the enemy, because either you're just not going to stack up that passive or you're going to die before you can stack up, or you're going to kill them before you're going to stack it up, or you're just going to be there effectively playing like a Bruiser with assassin items, which doesn't really make too much sense. So this is why, in my opinion, Hubris is really, really good as a tank item. The second reason being, which I didn't write down here, the second reason being is the fact that it doesn't actually scale with any AD. You'll find very commonly in different items which have some sort of active or passive element, they often, if they're Bruiser or assassin items, they often scale somewhat with AD. So if you're a tank, you're not going to be building much AD, but this gives you infinitely stacking AD, and it has a very nice synergy with the fact that tanks don't often get a lot of kills, they often get a lot of assists, which is why assist items are good on tanks, which I've already explained. A good example of front-loaded versus back-loaded damage would be Kayn. So the Shadow Assassin Kayn has a passive which pretty much front-loads a lot of your damage. So in the first 3 seconds you're in combat, you're going to be dealing a large amount of magic damage, so you're able to assassinate the enemy and then get out. So here is the build, pretty much. You can swap out a lot of the tank items here. It doesn't really matter too much what tank items you go. It's a lot of personal preference here. However, when it comes to the Hubris first and the opportunity building towards the end of your build, I would keep these where they are. But you can also swap around the build order of your tank items. It really depends a lot on the game which you're playing. However, there's one item here which is a bit questionable, which a lot of people don't like to go, that being Force of Nature. So I think Force of Nature is actually OP. I've always thought it was pretty OP, but nobody really agreed with me because the item was overshadowed previously by Spirit Visage, and now is overshadowed by Spirit Visage and Canaic Rukan, or however you pronounce the item. So it's in a bit of a weird spot. But I still think this item is amazing. The base stats which it gives are very good, but I feel like its passive is really not taken into account. People don't really care about the passive, so I'm just going to read out the passive here. Taking magic damage from champions grants a stack of steadfast for 7 seconds, stacking up to 8 times with the duration refreshing on subsequent magic attacks. So pretty much, I'm just going to summarize it. Pretty much you attack the enemy or the enemy attacks you, and then you get bonus magic resist up to 70 magic resist, and then you also get movement speed. So this is great on HECARIM because you are getting 15% movement speed, which you'd like on your champion, because you know HECARIM scales with AD and movement. HECARIM gets AD dependent on his movement speed. But let's compare this to another MR item. Let's compare this to Canaic Rukan. So it's better on HECARIM, firstly because of the movement speed, but I've already spoken about that. If we were to compare them in terms of the pure amount of MR you're getting, a full stack Force of Nature gives you 700 EHP or effective HP, or MR effective HP, and Canaic Rukan gives you an MR shield, which is equivalent to magic resist EHP, which is equivalent to 18% of your max HP. So if you do some fairly simple math here, you can find out that in order to get the same effective HP as Force of Nature, you're going to need 3,920 HP or more. You're going to need more than that in order to eclipse Force of Nature, not an eclipse in the item like eclipsing, get better than Force of Nature. So I would say most of the time, this is a lot of HP. You're probably not going to be getting that much HP in your games unless they go very long, right? With both of these builds, I believe in the tank one, you might get over 4k HP. It depends on which tank items you build, obviously. And then again, we have the backloaded versus the front-loaded problem. Force of Nature is a backloaded MR item, and Force of Nature is a front-loaded MR item. Force of Nature, Canaic Rukan seems to really help you against burst, but as a tank you're not really getting burst down much. You're not getting affected by that burst. But if you can't pick between them, it doesn't really matter, because you can just buy both of them. It doesn't matter which one you build. You can mitigate both front loaded and back loaded damage being dealt to you, so both of them are absolutely fine. Lastly, I want to talk about runes. On the first build, which I spoke about, you can go any runes you want. You can go Phase Rush, you can go Conqueror. I prefer Conqueror, but it's a lot about personal preference, because Conqueror feels very different and plays very different to Phase Rush, even if you have the same items. But I want to talk quickly about why I think Aftershock is really good for the tank HECARIM build. So HECARIM doesn't fall into a paradox which I feel like a lot of other CC champions fall into. So pretty much Aftershock gives you damage reduction for a short amount of time when you CC an enemy. But the problem is, if the enemy is CC'd, they're not going to be able to attack you unless they're using an Amumu W or like a Karthus E or something like that, something which is persistent. So in this case, with HECARIM CCs you, but the CC is like 0.25 seconds or something like that. You're not really going to stop attacking HECARIM in the time that he's CCing you. I mean his E, not his R, obviously. With his E, you're still going to be hitting him, but he's going to be getting all the benefits from the damage reduction of Aftershock, unlike a lot of other champions which really don't utilize Aftershock very well whatsoever. Like the best example of this, who utilize it really well, would be Rammus, because he forces you to attack him while he has up the Aftershock. But I feel that HECARIM doesn't fall into the paradox, because you're still hitting him if you're the enemy while he has up his Aftershock, which means you're getting the full value of Aftershock here. And yeah, that's that's all I really had to talk about today. That's the build. Those are the items, and yeah, I'm not gonna be showing you any gameplay because I feel like it's better for you to just to try out in your own game. There's not going to be any like amazing, wow, look at this damage, this does so much damage. There's not going to be any of that. So just try out in your games. Tell me what you think about it in the comments, and then yeah, thank you a lot for watching.